Hello and welcome to the Whiskey Creek Drainage Improvements at Minet's Point presentation. As COVID-19 protocols prohibit in-person public meetings, this public meeting is being held virtually. This presentation forms the Public Information Center for the Whiskey Creek Drainage Improvements at Minet's Point Municipal Class Environmental Assessments. The public will be provided an opportunity to ask questions and express their concerns during virtual public meeting question and answer sessions described later in this presentation. Also, the public is encouraged to provide their comments and concerns regarding this project as described later in this presentation. My name is John Gore, and I'm a member of the Water Resources team at Tatham Engineering Limited. Tatham Engineering has been retained by the City of Barrie to undertake the Whiskey Creek drainage improvements at Minet's Point Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. Daniel Twigger is the project manager for this project and is senior engineer and group leader at Tatham Engineering. Daniel can be reached at dtwigger@tathameng.com or via telephone at 705-444-2565, extension 2090. This environmental assessment is a planning level study detailing the drainage deficiencies identified in the study area, the alternative solutions considered to address these deficiencies, and the evaluation of these alternatives to assist in the development of a preferred solution to be implemented moving forward. The overall project team responsible for this EA is the City of Barrie, Tatham Engineering Limited, the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, Riverstone Environmental Solutions, Water's Edge Environmental Solutions Team, and ArchaeoWorks. Tatham Engineering is the prime consultant involved in the EA and has completed the civil engineering components of the project. Riverstone Environmental Solutions has completed an environmental impact study assessing the natural heritage features in the study area in support of this EA. Water's Edge Environmental Solutions team has conducted an erosion threshold assessment to assess the impacts the alternative solutions being considered have on erosion through Whiskey Creek in the study area. Finally, ArchaeoWorks conducted a Stage 1 archaeological assessment identifying the areas of potential archaeological resources in the study area and the need for Stage 2 archaeological assessments as part of the detailed design for each alternative solution considered. The study area falls in an area under the jurisdiction of the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. As such, the LSRCA is a commenting agency for this environmental assessment. The LSRCA has been consulted throughout the EA process to ensure their comments and concerns are being addressed. Currently, the downstream reach of Whiskey Creek between the Boulevard and Kempenfelt Bay experiences flooding during both minor and major storm events. West of Whiskey Creek, water leaving the watercourse flows northwest along White Oaks Road and across private property to Kempenfelt Bay. East of Whiskey Creek, water leaving the watercourse spills northeast across Brennan Avenue and Lismore Boulevard, flooding Minet's Point Park and private property as it flows to Kempenfelt Bay. The flooding has caused historic damage to both private and municipal property and causes concern for public safety. The objective of the study is to review alternatives to improve the hydraulic capacity of Whiskey Creek at the outlet to Kempenfelt Bay based on their impacts to the physical, natural, social, culture, and economic environments. This includes an assessment of the conveyance capacity of the Brennan Avenue and the Boulevard culvert crossings, in addition to the main channel. The purpose of the study is to develop alternative design concepts to address the problem, identify the location, extent, and sensitivity of the affected environments, assess the design alternatives given potential impacts, identify the preferred alternative solutions, and establish measures to mitigate adverse impacts. The focus of this environmental assessment is to reduce the frequency of flooding associated with Whiskey Creek through the study area. However, we understand the public has concerns regarding Lake Simcoe water levels and flooding along the shoreline. Although shoreline flooding will not be addressed through this EA, we want to provide an overview of how and why Lake Simcoe water levels are managed. Lake Simcoe is part of a much larger system known as the Trent-Severn Waterway. The Trent-Severn Waterway is 386 kilometers long with 18,600 square kilometers of interconnected lakes, rivers, and channels which connect Lake Ontario at Trenton to Georgian Bay at Port Severn. Hundreds of thousands of people rely on the waterway for drinking water, flood control, tourism, and recreation, and the waterway provides water for power generation, municipal water supply, agriculture, and supports a variety of fish and wildlife. The city of Barrie is one of nearly 50 communities located on its shores, which is impacted by the management of this waterway. Lake Simcoe water levels are managed by Parks Canada via the Trent Severn Waterway. Typically, Lake Simcoe water levels vary by 0.4 to 0.5 meters during any given year. The highest levels occur in the spring, and as the summer progresses, the water levels begin to drop. The lowest levels are reached in late fall and winter. As Lake Simcoe is part of the larger Trent Severn Waterway, actions taken to alter the water levels in Lake Simcoe cannot occur without repercussions elsewhere in the waterway. As such, the management of the Trent Severn Waterway is extremely complex and considers all of the varying needs and impacts that each decision or action will have on the rest of the waterway. Parks Canada describes the management of the Lake Simcoe water levels as follows. Lake Simcoe is controlled by several dams constructed in multiple outlet channels at Washego. Parks Canada monitors and manages water levels throughout the year to ensure sufficient water for navigation, to preserve ecological integrity, and to provide flood mitigation to the extent possible for the lake and the Trent Severn Waterway. Water level management on Lake Simcoe adheres to a complex protocol that incorporates many contributing factors and considers the entire watershed network. In general, the water levels of Lake Simcoe and Lake Couchiching are operated based on target levels that resemble natural lake level patterns, such as the rapid rise in the spring, the gradual lowering through late fall, followed by the constant levels in the winter. These target levels are based on operational and navigation requirements, topography and hydrology, the protection of public safety, ecological considerations for wildlife and fisheries, as well as socio-economic considerations. In addition, water levels in Lake Simcoe respond slowly to water management operations, and the lake levels are not easily adjusted by the dams, unless there is significant time in which to discharge water. It may take several days of water management operations using the dams in Washego to impact water levels or to reach the targeted level while taking into account downstream conditions. The Lake Simcoe water levels fact sheet presented on the previous page is available on the project website. Additional information is also available on the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority and Parks Canada websites. So what is a municipal class environmental assessment? A municipal class environmental assessment is a planning and design process to identify, compare, and evaluate alternative solutions to identified problem. It applies to all municipal road, water, and wastewater projects and significant private projects as per the Municipal Engineers Association Municipal Class Environmental Assessment document. It ensures all aspects of the environment, physical, natural, social, cultural, and economic, are considered in the evaluation and selection of the preferred solution to be implemented. This EA has been identified as a Schedule B project, which means it has potential for moderate impacts and ends at the conclusion of Phase 2 of the EA process. Consultation is being conducted to present the issues identified, the alternative solutions developed, and the preliminary evaluation of these alternatives, as well as elicit comments and feedback from the public to assist with the confirmation of the preferred alternative solution. Draft Class EA Report and supporting documents. In support of this environmental assessment, a Draft Class EA Report has been prepared, which is available on the project website for review. The Draft Class EA Report summarizes the problem, the project environments, the existing drainage systems, the alternative solutions evaluated, and the preliminary preferred alternative solution identified. For additional information beyond what is provided in this presentation, please refer to the Draft Class EA Report. If you require accommodations to review the Draft Class EA Report, please contact Ling Ling He, Senior Water Technologist at the City of Barrie, at the address and phone number provided later in this presentation. As part of this assessment, the design storm peak flows through Whiskey Creek within the study area were confirmed with the LSRCA. Also, the existing capacity of Whiskey Creek and the culvert crossings at Brennan Avenue and the boulevard were established along with the extent of flooding in the study area. Through this analysis, The Boulevard Culvert Crossing was identified as having the limiting capacity of less than the 1 in 2 year design storm peak flow through the study area. The Brennan Avenue Culvert Crossing and Whiskey Creek Main Channel have similar capacities equal to the 1 in 2 year design storm peak flow. When flow within Whiskey Creek exceeds the capacity of the drainage system, flooding is expected to occur on the Boulevard and Brennan Avenue, along White Oaks Road and Lismer Boulevard, through Minet's Point Park, and through private property. Each alternative solution considered does reduce the frequency of flooding. However, the magnitude of the reduction is dependent on the alternative solution. The hydrologic and hydraulic modeling technical memorandum is included in Appendix A of the Draft Class EA report for reference. Water's Edge Environmental Solutions team reviewed Whiskey Creek to determine if the watercourse is actively eroding, establish what conditions create erosion, and the amplitude the main channel is expected to meander over time. The assessment concluded that Whiskey Creek through the study area is eroding and in a transitional state, and each improvement option considered needs to address erosion. Specifically, any improvements completed along Whiskey Creek should use natural channel design principles and incorporate a 6-meter banked full channel width into the design. The Fluvial Geomorphological Assessment and Design Alternative Review is included in Appendix B of the Draft Class EA report for reference. A traffic impact study was completed to establish the existing conditions of the transportation network in the overall area. Specifically, the traffic impact study assessed the existing road network, traffic volumes, and traffic operations. The study concludes that there is ample capacity available on Minet's Point Road and Brennan Avenue to accommodate existing traffic volumes and facilitate future growth, and the existing intersections provide good conditions. No improvements are required under current conditions. As part of this study, the alternative solutions involving transportation system modifications were evaluated. It was concluded that the transportation system modifications would result in a more circuitous travel for both area residents and visitors, given the road system changes contemplated. From a traffic operations perspective, all alternatives can be accommodated. However, the removal of sections of road will also reduce the number of access points to the local road system, which is a concern from an emergency access perspective. The traffic impact study is included in Appendix C of the Draft Class EA report for reference. Riverstone Environmental Solutions conducted a natural heritage study to identify the natural heritage resources in the study area, evaluate the impact the alternative solutions being considered will have on the natural environment, and identify mitigation measures to address potential impacts of each alternative solution on the natural heritage resources. The assessment concluded that Whiskey Creek through the study area is a cold water fishery, and the mature trees lining its banks provide potential habitat for 2 endangered species, being the little brown bat and the northern long-eared bat, although no endangered species were witnessed in the study area during the site investigations completed. The Natural Heritage Resources Technical Memorandum is included in Appendix D of the Draft Class EA report for reference. ArchaeoWorks completed an archaeological assessment to identify areas of archaeological potential in the study area and identify any potential impacts related to each alternative solution being considered. The assessment concluded that portions of the study area are considered to retain archaeological potential, specifically the areas that do not exhibit extensively disturbed conditions, such as the pockets of overgrown vegetation flanking Whiskey Creek, the manicured lawns in Minet's Point Park, and several residential properties, and the woodlot immediately upstream and downstream of the boulevard. Each alternative solution being considered has the potential to disturb one or more of these areas. As such, a Stage 2 archaeological assessment must occur prior to the implementation of the alternative solutions being considered. The Stage 1 archaeological assessment is included in Appendix E of the Draft Class EA report for reference. Alternative solutions. Alternative 1, or the do-nothing alternative, allows for the consideration of not making any changes to Whiskey Creek from the boulevard to Kempenfelt Bay. This alternative is being considered to provide a benchmark to gauge the physical, natural, social, cultural, and economic implications of the other alternatives. Hydraulic improvements to the main channel of Whiskey Creek and its overbanks, along with the culvert crossing improvements between the Boulevard and Kempenfelt Bay, were considered as alternatives 2 and 3. Under Alternative 2, the culvert crossings of Brennan Avenue and the Boulevard can be replaced with culverts sized to convey the 1-in-100-year return frequency design storm peak flow, and Whiskey Creek can be improved from the Boulevard Kempenfelt Bay. However, several potential conflicts and constructability issues have been identified under Alternative 2, which has led us to explore other alternatives. Under Alternative 3, the same improvements described under Alternative 2 can be implemented to a reduced level of service, i.e., designed to convey less than the 1-in-100-year return frequency design storm peak flow. An opportunity exists to improve the culvert crossings and watercourse from the Boulevard to Kempenfelt Bay to reduce the frequency of flooding while reducing/eliminating the conflicts, relocations, and constructability issues identified under Alternative 2. Alternative 3 is the preliminary preferred alternative solution so far. The hydraulic improvements were also considered with transportation system modifications. The transportation system modifications included the removal of Brennan Avenue, the Boulevard, and both roads at Whiskey Creek. Removing these sections of road would reinstate the watercourse, removing a restriction to flow that causes flooding in the area. However, removing the roads will not generate a significant reduction in flooding without implementing the hydraulic improvements under Alternatives 2 and 3. The removal of Brennan Avenue is considered under Alternative 4, the removal of the Boulevard under Alternative 5, and the removal of both roads under Alternative 6. With one or both of the roads removed, the creation of new transportation linkages in the area to address traffic and pedestrian movement and emergency service requirements were also considered under Alternatives 4 through 6. Recommendations that modify the road network are unwarranted and are not recommended as part of the preferred solution. As mentioned previously, Alternative 3 is the preliminary preferred alternative solution as it best satisfies the study objectives. Alternative 3 significantly reduces the frequency of flooding through the study area. Measures can be incorporated into the design to address erosion. Impacts to the road network are minimized. Capital and life cycle costs are less than the majority of the other alternatives considered. Threats to public safety are reduced, and fish and terrestrial habitat improvements can be incorporated into the design. Alternative 3 was identified as the preliminary preferred alternative solution through an evaluation of each of the alternative solutions' impacts on the physical, natural, social, cultural, and economic environments. Alternative 3 is only the preliminary preferred alternative solution, and the alternative drainage solutions will be re-evaluated and a preferred alternative solution will be confirmed after this PIC in consideration of the feedback received from the public and interested stakeholders as part of the EA process. It's noted, the preliminary alternative solution may change as a result of the feedback received. We will use this feedback to confirm or potentially revisit the preliminary preferred alternative solution. The alternative solutions were evaluated based on their costs and benefits. The alternative solutions were evaluated based on their impact on flooding, erosion, and on the transportation systems. Upfront capital costs, 100-year life cycle costs, and local business impacts were evaluated along with archaeological, public safety, private property, noise, access, and traffic movement impacts. Finally, aquatic, fisheries, and terrestrial impacts were considered for the natural environment. Based on the severity of the impacts, both positive and negative, a score was assigned to each alternative solution under each evaluation criteria, and the accumulated score was used to identify the preliminary preferred alternative solution. Alternative 3 generated the greatest overall benefit on the project environments through this evaluation. As previously mentioned, the hydraulic improvements under Alternatives 2 and 3 were evaluated in combination with the transportation system modifications under Alternatives 4 through 6. This evaluation was completed to determine if the hydraulic improvements plus transportation system modifications produced a greater overall benefit on the project environments compared against the hydraulic improvements alone. Through the evaluation completed, it has been determined that the transportation system modifications generally produce an overall negative impact on the project environments. As such, the hydraulic improvements under alternatives 2 and 3 generate greater overall benefits on the project environments alone than when paired with transportation system modifications. The transportation system modifications are not recommended as part of the preliminary preferred alternative solution. Virtual meeting, question and answer sessions, comments, and next steps. As COVID-19 protocols prohibit in-person public meetings, virtual public meeting question and answer sessions will be held to allow participants to ask questions and provide comments regarding this environmental assessment. The virtual public meeting Q&A sessions will be held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, February 9th and Tuesday, February 16th. The virtual public meeting Q&A sessions will be held using Microsoft Teams, which allows participants to join by computer, mobile app, or phone. You must register with the City of Barrie if you wish to attend the virtual public meeting Q&A sessions. To register, please contact Ling He, Senior Water Technologist at the City of Barrie via email at lingling.he@barrie.ca, via telephone at 705-739-4220, extension 5291, or use the electronic registration form available on the project website. Registration for the virtual public meeting Q&A sessions will close at 4 p.m. or 1 hour prior to the start of each meeting on the respective meeting date. Upon registering for the virtual public meeting Q&A session, details allowing each participant to connect to the session will be provided. This presentation is a virtual format of the Public Information Center, and comments and concerns from the public regarding this project are welcomed by February 17, 2021. We ask that everyone provide their comments and concerns by this date, after which we will review and address all comments received from the public, agencies, and interested stakeholders. The alternatives evaluation will be refined based on the comments and concerns received, and the preferred alternative solution will be selected. We will then update the Class EA report for Council review and endorsement of the preferred alternative solution. The final Class EA report will be placed on public record for the requisite 30-day review period, and a notice of study completion will be issued. During this time, if you feel a significant outstanding issue has not been addressed through this environmental assessment, a Part 2 order request can be submitted to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks using the request form available on the Ministry's website. After reviewing the available information and this presentation, please register for the virtual public meeting Q&A sessions if you have further questions or concerns. Submit a comment sheet with your questions and concerns, and notify the City if you wish to be kept informed of the staff recommendation regarding the preferred alternative solution. Comments and information regarding this project are being collected to assist the project team in meeting the requirements of the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment process. These comments will be maintained for reference throughout the project and, with the exception of personal information, may be used in the final documentation and will become a part of public record. Personal information provided is collected under the authority of the Environmental Assessment Act, Chapter E18, Section 7, and will be used in the development of the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. Questions about this collection should be directed to Tom Reeve, Senior Project Manager of Water and Wastewater Planning at the City of Barrie, by calling 705-739-4220, extension 4465, or emailing tom.reeve@barrie.ca. The City of Barrie continues to enhance accessibility that is inclusive of all ages and abilities. The information provided herein can be provided in alternative formats upon request. Such a request should be submitted to Ling He, Senior Water Technologist at the City of Barrie, by calling 705-739-4220, extension 5291, or emailing lingling.he@barrie.ca. We encourage everyone to provide their comments and concerns regarding this environmental assessment. The comments will be used to refine the evaluation of the alternative solutions and select the preferred alternative solution for implementation. Written comments may be submitted to Ling Ling, Senior Water Technologist at the City of Barrie, at the email address provided, or by completing the comment sheet available on the project website. Alternatively, you may contact Ling Ling via telephone to arrange a time to drop off a hard copy of the completed comment sheet. As mentioned, the alternatives evaluation will be refined based on the comments and concerns received, and the preferred solution will be selected. The selection of the preferred alternative solution is anticipated to occur early March. After selecting the preferred solution, the Class EA report will be updated for council review and endorsement of the preferred solution. Endorsement of the preferred solution is expected in 2021. At this time, the final Class EA report will be placed on public record for the requisite 30-day review period, and a notice of study completion will be issued. We encourage everyone to participate in the public meeting Q&A sessions scheduled February 9th and February 16th, and encourage everyone to submit their comments and concerns. If you have questions regarding this EA, please contact the City of Barrie or Tatham Engineering Limited at the addresses provided previously in this presentation. We would like to thank you for viewing this presentation and participating in the Whiskey Creek drainage improvements at Minet's Point Municipal Class Environmental Assessment.